Well, hello everybody. I'm not entirely sure whether we're live or not. I'm seeing a black screen on my monitor, but enough time has passed that I am fairly sure we are. I certainly have a thumbnail for our camera. So welcome once again to the show that never ends. Well, at least never ends weekly anyway. It's the 21st of July. 2013, and this is the Inworld Review. We got a nice bundle of guests on the channel today, and I'll be introducing them shortly. But first of all, just a little roundup of what's been going on in the general metaverse, the world of immersive spaces on the web. Of interest. One of the major public metaverses, so to speak, is a world called Inworlds. You've probably heard of Second Life. Well, Inworlds is a bit like Second Life, a bit smaller, but more agreeable for some people. And they recently brought in something called a mesh deformer, which really rather enhances your ability to play with mesh avatars. And earlier in the week, they announced that the code for this has been donated freely to OpenSim as well. So I don't think that includes Linden Labs, but basically any other grids that are actually using mesh now have the mesh deformer available to them if they want to use it. I have a lot of noise in my Skype here, so I'll just close that. Sorry about that. Right. Also, coming up, we're going to be talking a little bit about education today, in fact, but during the week, I think it was published this week, even though it's technically a June issue, the Virtual Education Journal is available. Now, this is one of the Okay, something very strange has happened here, folks. I seem to have two versions of the same call open here. Are you there, Petlove?
I am, and this call is working, so you can just continue.
Okay,
thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, my apologies for that, folks. It looks, I don't know what you missed on the previous call. So I was just pointing you to the June issue of the Virtual Education Journal, which you can find at issue. Moving on, come September this year, there is going to be the Open Simulator Community Conference. And they have announced that the keynote panel on the Saturday morning, we'll be discussing the future of open simulators. This will not be to be missed because participants include Justin Clark Casey of opensimulator.org, Krista Lopez, who of course invented the hypergrid to all extent, a chap called Mick Bowman, and Melanie, I keep saying Thinker, but it's actually Cycler, and various others. So exciting roundup of very important people for the Open Simulator conference there. Just coming back to my main page here to see what else we've got that is useful. Quite a lot of interesting stuff on the on blog posts this week. One, it's a magazine called Science Now, had a feature on how virtual reality allows adults to see the world through a child's eyes. Again, this is sort of sorry, I'm trying. Skype is squeaking at me because it's behind the thing I'm reading. Never mind. Right, and also, as we're going to be finding out later, Virtual World's best practices in education is almost ready to go in Second Life and on other platforms too, but we'll be discussing that later. In the hypergrid, according to Maria Korolov, regions have been growing, but usage has been dropping with the heat. Go figure. I can tell you that if they're in Britain, they certainly are dropping from the heat. Where we are, pre-practice. There is, if you, probably the best place to go is Kurzweil net for this. Basically, the US Army have a sort of a virtual world all of their own, where they're going to be stress testing, really. And they're inviting members of the public to come into their site and register for testing. I haven't got the link open for that, so I'll try and get it open for you later. Sorry, that's doing too much at once here. Right, I think that's about it. There has been quite a lot this week. Now I'm actually looking at the darn thing. Yeah, I think that's the main things. We will come back to some of the other stuff during the course of our conversations. But before we do that, it's about time I hand it over to my partner Tara Yates here for her own take on the week. So over to you, Tara.
Well, thank you, Mal, and greetings everyone from the Pacific Northwest, where it isn't wet and hasn't been. Unlike the eastern part of the U.S. and the UK, which have both been roasting, from all reports I've heard, we've had lovely weather. I shouldn't talk too loud because the lesser Seattle folks will come after me. But our weather's been just kind of pretty much perfect for some while, and looks like it's going to continue that way, where it's not too hot and not too cold, and it's sunny most of the time, and that's just wonderful. So, anyway, let me see. I think where I'll start is the item that kind of caught my attention in my incoming email. Sometimes we talk about kind of new hardware coming along and some of that sort of thing. Well, the world's first gyro-based motion capture gloves are set to be introduced at SIGGRAPH in August.
I'm very sorry. We were checking the channel page there. It is actually running fine. So I'm sorry about that, Tara. It reopened with a bang.
All right. Yes. Okay. The first gyro-based motion capture gloves will be introduced at SIGGRAPH, which is the big computer graphics show, and it's in August. This is will be available from MotionWorks, who's one of the biggies in the whole mocap motion capture attire, high-end gear, and one of the things that this is pretty much useless in Second Life because you don't have any control over hands anyway, other than like 4 different positions that they're set to go in. Hands are one of the great untouched areas, short of putting on fake hands in Second Life. But I thought this was pretty cool because the second piece of this is some interesting high-end new gear for capturing face motion as well, and all of this can be done in real time. So it's allowing some pretty fun effects, such as animating club mascots in real time. So anyway, I thought that was pretty cool because now you can get faces and hands as well as bodies, and all those pieces can work together and can be done in real time. So it's not going to be coming to a virtual world near you anytime soon as far as hands that will actually do things like real people's hands do, but it's a nice addition to the realm of stuff that is available out there. And conversations and buzz continues on the Oculus Rift. And an interesting side note this week from Hamlet was the comment that any particular uptake of Oculus Rifts when they become available commercially in Second Life may throw some some curves at content creators because of the old issue of avatar size and scaling. All of which is actually largely driven by the camera angles that are the basic defaults for Second Life, which result in us creating avatars that are 7, 8, 9 feet tall, and then having to build buildings that are that tall as well instead of to real scale. So, it's kind of an interesting new wrinkle, and that's assuming that there's actually take-up on, in a commercial sense, on the Oculus Rift device. And, I really am going to have to take Hamlet to task on his continuing to beat this drum on his statements about older folks using Oculus Rift as a means of accessing Second Life. I don't know if he's ever had one of these, an Oculus Rift on his head yet, but the picture that I think really conveys it, and I don't think he realizes he conveys it, there's a picture of an older woman who has both hands on either side of the Oculus Rift. And she's got a big grin on her face. But the thing about her hands on either side of that Oculus Rift are, those things are heavy. They aren't like putting on a pair of sunglasses. They're not like putting on a pair of headphones even. They're heavy. So, there's some reality checks here on the actual physical effect and feel of the gear that is going to, I think, really impact on how far Oculus Rift goes without some pretty major modifications as they go along. But anyway, it's all very fun and exciting, and it'll be interesting to see what actually happens once it's really available for the general public, if it actually goes anywhere. Let's see. There was another interesting kind of item from we mentioned in last week's news that Linden Lab had acquired the digital distribution service Desura, which caught everybody off guard and was a big surprise to everyone. And Gamasutra had a bit of an interview with Rod Humble, and there were a couple notes in here, a couple quotes from Rod that I thought were kind of interesting. He said in this particular article, this is from Rod, "We want to make it, i.e. Desura, the most open, developer, and user-friendly distribution service for all kinds of digital goods, starting with games and mods and going from there." And then Rod said, for us, it's a natural step. We're about user-to-user transactions and empowering people's creativity. And then a little further on in the interview, he said, when the market is narrow, competitors are actually a good thing. And this is in reference to Desura versus Steam. And he says they will bring different people into the space. And the same goes for digital distribution. It's certainly not saturated when you have one very significant player dominating a lot of it. And some of this is in reference to Second Life's position as far as being a virtual world. And then he goes on to say, Rod says, we're always on the lookout for key partners to further our strategy. We're a very profitable company, we're cash rich, and if we can find potential partners, we will. All right, take that to the bank. The strategy going forward is quite clear, to take all of our creative platforms, make them more and more open from the horse's mouth, and hopefully allow people to share and if they want, sell their creations. So there you have it if you want a Linden Lab mission statement in a nutshell. Kind of interesting. Anyway, back in Second Life, last week you may recall that I commented that server-side appearance had made a debut in the release, the other release channel. Well, they've moved it. It is now in Magnum. So if you're in the Magnum sim, that's where you'll find server-side baking live. If you want to see a server-side appearance, I keep calling it baking because it's been server-side baking for so long, and they decided to change the name. So anyway, so look for it in Magnum Sims now. See what comes up. See how it works for you. If your avatar pops into view immediately or not. And the sim we are on, by the way, is not Magnum. This is a one time it was a Blue Steel, and I think it's a main server grid now. Let me see. I think the last thing I have is various notes on some events going on. Hair Fair continues, and the crowds are down a little bit easier, so it's a little bit easier to go visit if you want to. Those of you who pay attention to the talking heads on screen, I am wearing a new some new hair that I picked up at Hair Fair. The Hair Fair sales portion of all proceeds go to Wigs for Kids, which is a nonprofit that provides hair replacement systems for children in need. And there is a wonderful thing if you really don't want to strip down to your bare essentials avatar and deal with lag in the Hair Fair Sims. The SeraphimSL.com blog has compiled pictures of all the hair from all the designers in one place on their blog, and so you can flip through there and find what is of interest to you, and narrow down your trudging around to find things. It's mostly women's hair, but there's men's hair too, so don't feel shy about that. And there's also some pretty wild and wacky stuff. And some hairdos that would I doubt you very much you would see them anywhere in real life. So some of those can be pretty fun. I actually picked up a couple years ago some really amazing do's that you put in your inventory and you think, well, one of these days maybe I'll find some wild event to wear this to. Anyway, let's see. The Full Permission Summer Fair is back from July 19th through August 4th. Full prim mesh sculpties and textures in a variety of categories, and this is in Old Europe Sims. They have a bunch of carts in a rustic steampunk village / Victorian resort town setting. Excuse me. July 19th through August 4th. The first annual food fair, Second Life Food Fair, opened on, today's the 21st, that would have been Friday. With items including clothing, accessories, poses, decor, furniture, and builds. So all related to food in some fashion. And finally, a lot of these events tend to be more interest to women who have, of course, a long history of retail therapy, and virtual retail therapy is a much lower hit on one's pocketbook. But you guys, you have your chance. There is a special Boys of Summer going on in Metropolis Sim. This is a Depraved Nation's newest sales event with items designed just for the men of Second Life, including clothing, accessories, skin, shapes, and poses. So there you go, guys. Hustle your little buns over there to Metropolis Sim, and it's all yours. And on that note, I'm really looking forward to hearing Phelan and Letty talk about the upcoming event this week. So back to you, Mel, and you can do some introductions.
Well, thank you, Tara. Yes, Boys for Summer. There's some nice photos I saw on the blogs during the week there. Whether I'll get around to going and picking up anything's not a matter, but some neat costuming. Right, that's wonderful. Now, for those of you watching this program live, I've completely forgot to say at the top of the show what we just run before this on the Week in Review. There was a meetup, a sort of virtual reality meetup, I guess, in San Francisco during the last couple of weeks, and we actually showed you a film of Philip Rosedale talking about High Fidelity, his new project there. We opened the show with a sort of 5-minute tour of Relay for Life, just a film called Relay for Life Impressions, and of course those of you who watched the show last week will no doubt remember we were packed to the brims here with guests from Relay for Life, and in fact we just finished broadcasting a telethon, so we were a bit exhausted, to say the least. We also showed at the top of the show a quick little announcement about the winners for UWA, University of Western Australia's Reflections Machinima contest, which we're discussing a little bit shortly. And I showed what was actually an advert for an Inworld animation company called Humanoid. It was advertising a dance called Elena. The reason I actually showed it was because the vast majority of the clip actually showed real-world dancers performing the dances as they were being captured and animated, and I thought that was kind of interesting to see, so I ran that. And we saw a new build from Nuvera online, which is independent sort of metaverse sort of thing. And finally, we showed the second mini episode of Happy Hunting, which of course is filmed by our wonderful Petlove here. And it's sort of just a series of shorts that are appearing to fill in time before the next proper season of the full sort of hour-long program or whatever it is. So congrats, Petlove. And I'm going to go to our guest, one of whom is Petlove. Hi, Petlove.
Now?
you weren't expecting me
I didn't know whether to turn the mic on or move the camera.
Good point. This is what happens when we're doing two things at once. Yes, but congrats on the new mini Happy Hunting.
Thank you. They're just like one hunt and easy to do and fun.
And you will, of course, be one of the many cameras joining us for a broadcasting epic in the week when we will be broadcasting Virtual World's Best Practices in Education. We'll be producing it. It's actually going to be broadcast by the Metaverse TV business channel. So, but we'll come back to that in a minute. Next to Petlove, we have one of our erstwhile commentators here. It's Will Burns. Hi, Will. Well, Will's gone dead. I mean, I think he's scared to open his mouth because he came up during the week and he actually...
Working on it. Sorry.
Oh, working on it. Hi, Will.
What's going on?
Well, Will, you have to account for the reason you call me a sophisticated pimp during the week.
Yes.
We will come back to that when we have time for to put you on the spot. We're also joined by LaPiscean Liberty, who LaPiscean. Sorry, I will get it right one of these days. I just call him Lap. Hello, Lap.
Hello, Mal. Thanks for having me on. LaPiscean, yeah, that works.
LaPiscean has been running Inworld during the course of the last few days, and I believe today will be the last day, continuing. Basically, all the machinima that were submitted to the University of Western Australia's Reflections contest, of which both Lap and I have been judges, and there have been rather a lot of them, haven't there, Lap? 60 or more?
Oh, there were 64 entries, Mal, and I got to tell you, that is one of the hardest things that I do in Second Life, is to try and determine which film was better than another one. Well, I'll tell you,
that's gotta be hard.
Well, especially this year, there's a lot of new talent, and the seasoned artists that have been in this contest in years past have really come on to new techniques and new softwares, and the film creations just get better every year, and that for a judge, you know yourself, makes it really hard. You gotta look for little things, infractions or things like that to try and separate them, because they're just really good films out there this year.
I have to admit, I was in the same position. I sort of had them all offline, and then I just put them on the big screen and surround sound and everything, and test them, in one foul swoop. And I have to take it, seriously in a way. I like avoiding the favourites. So I judge whether the picture quality is good, whether the composition is good, the storytelling is good, even whether the stereo sound is mixed properly to work with surround, and virtually everything. And so I think of it as sitting in cinema and I've just got to ignore who made these and just somehow find a way to choose the best. And actually, I was very, very surprised with this year. It's not my place to comment on my choices, but I am, generally speaking, a big fan, as people know from the show, of running clips that have some nice ambient music and are just good film work and sort of take you on a journey, as it were, into virtual worlds, and you see the destinations, the art, creativity with nice music. But that is only one side of machinima. I tend to also look for storytelling machinima, although my preference is that it's what I call inhabited. In other words, it's filmed within a virtual world where the actors and actresses are actually human, inhabiting the avatar while they perform, rather than sort of off-world constructs, as we call them. But one thing that really surprised me this year is that the whole contest was full of that stuff I like. But very little of it was actual drama or storytelling, unless you assume, there's a storytelling abstract. There were some very nice things with poetry involved, which there
was a little bit of a problem. There are a couple of really good storytelling films in there, but to have a really good story film, you've got to kind of break through that 4-minute time limit that everybody was given.
Yeah.
So you see a lot more art films in there, and for the art films that are in there, I agree with you that through new techniques and experience, they've now become a little more focused and structured in the way that they're presented. So they just don't look like random art films, but they do have an ultimate effect or a goal or a message that they're trying to put forth with their art.
Well, the way I did it is, as I say, I watched them in the block and I gave them marks out of 10, and only, trying to avoid looking at who did it, so that I wasn't biased in that sense. And I think the lowest mark I gave anything was 4. The highest, and only one, got 9. And then I sort of, basically I went through my marks at the end, and I found that I actually had 7 contenders, in the 9 and the 8, and then I just had to go through all the 7s again and sort of figure out which. We got there in the end, but it's like you say, it's a very hard job. You don't want people won't know what I chose actually.
Well, what we did over to View is we decided to invite the community over and to watch these films, and what we did was like 16 films a day. We still have 2 more days to do, and then the audience participation awards will go to those that pick the top 10 themselves. So we're watching them in 16 video hunks, and then getting their favorites out of that, and then at the end of the 4 days, it's easier for them to put their top 10 list together.
Oh, that's great! That's brilliant.
And so that gives them a more real chance of trying to, if they really got to watch them and they really, could look at it, then they're doing it from the same perspective as we judges are. So, they have I thought they might have a little better chance at trying to match the jury panel if, in fact, they looked at it with the same intensity that the jury does.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it's a hard. you can't. It's hard unless you use my technique of sort of having to spend 5 hours or so watching them all in one chunk offline. But I think that idea of doing the showings in World is a great idea, especially as well, you say a bit like a judge, but it's always interesting to me how different a people's choice award will be as opposed to the collective judgment of judges like ourselves.
Well, that's why the experts are judges.
We're supposed to be unbiased,
Yeah.
So, but you might expect that out of the audience participation, because they'll be putting other variables applied to their decisions, and a lot of that will be, well, I like this artist, but I don't really care for that artist and never did. You know what I mean? There'll be a lot of that in the audience participation, but from, if they're going to go for the ring or the money, then they have to try to watch these videos in a way that will match, what the jury comes up with as the top 10.
Indeed. Well, while we're on I'm going to bring in our other guests here. While we're on the subject of machinima, I'm actually going to be hosting a sort of discussion with six, well, actually I think it's 5 machinima makers on Thursday at the Virtual World's Best Practices. There are actually 6 candidates for a some machinima presentation there. We'll be showing them on the broadcast back to back, and then I'll be in World discussing them with the creators. So that could also be exciting. But talking of which, Virtual World's Practices in Education. It starts Wednesday, goes on through Thursday, Friday, and Saturday next week. As I said, you'll be able to see it broadcast live, a lot of it, on Metaverse TV Businesses channel. And I'm delighted to say we've got an old friend of ours in the studio. It's Phelan Corrimal, whose tag at the moment says he's a VWBPE executive. Hi, Phelan.
Hello, how are we doing?
We are absolutely fine, preparing for your show. But we are also joined by Letty Luckstone, whose tag says VWBPE Director. Welcome, Letty.
Hi, Mel. Thank you for having me today.
Right. And of course, I've been rather obviously working with both Letty and Phelan and various other people behind the scenes preparing for this wonderful event. But we now have the agenda, for example, don't we, Phelan? And there are obviously a few elements that will be subject to change and the last minute things that happen at these events, but we now have a pretty good idea of what's going on during the course of the 4 days. So maybe I'd like to tell everybody between you what that is, what that will encompass.
What that will encompass? Well, I mean, in terms of, and I apologize for the squeaky chair. I know you're going to give me a heck about that in a moment. The in terms of what we've got, we've got an incredible lineup over 4 days, which encompasses lectures, workshops, posters, machinima. Just an incredible lineup. So, for example, our opening keynote is going to be Gentle Heron, who's just grabbed the thing here. Actually, I think Letty's actually got most of these memorized at this point.
Yeah, she might be better at this than you are.
She might be better with
yeah.
So why don't I let Letty talk about the actual presentations here?
Gentle Heaven, of course, is with Virtual Ability, who do some wonderful work for lesser able people, really, in Second Life. So yes, Letty, let's.
Yes, we do have a wonderful program this year, and Gentle was just very generous to agree to do the opening keynote. I thought that because we were doing behind the scenes, it would just be perfect to kind of honor in some small way or large way the people that really do work a lot behind the scenes, behind the stage, as it were. So we have Gentle. We have actually joining her several other wonderful keynotes throughout the 4 days, and they're very, very varied. We have somebody that's expert in history, somebody that has expertise in robotics, and then we have a wonderful physics professor. So we have excellent guests. And then our closing keynote will be Dave Cormier, who's the creator of the MOOC, and that will also help us launch our post-conference MOOC, which happens immediately after Saturday. So we do have a great variety.
That, of course, is very different this year, isn't it? The deliberate decision to run the MOOCs and all these online adventures almost after the event, rather than trying to integrate them into it, which seems very wise because they're time consuming.
Well, sort of, yes and no, because I mean as hopefully people remember from last year, Front Range did put on a MOOC in association with VWBPE last year, and it ran for about four to 6 weeks. And one of the things that we discovered through that process was that there was actually this real appetite for people to go and visit other virtual worlds beyond Second Life. And one of the challenges we always had during the conference is that there was so much that people wanted to see during the conference that nobody was willing to go take a look at these other virtual platforms. So, what we learned from last year is that there really does need to be a bit of separation. So we've decided to incorporate that into the program going forward from now on.
I've suddenly realised, being my normal neglectful self, for the benefit of viewers, I should explain that the MOOC is a massively online course. Actually, what's the full title, Phelan? Massively, it's MOOC, isn't it? Or is it MMOC?
MOOC.
It's massively open online course.
Right. Okay. So it's basically an idea. It's an adventure in virtual worlds, really. I mean, whether it's for education, which it normally is, of course. The idea is it's a guided sort of adventure course on various virtual world platforms, or indeed with various doing, I suppose, virtual world functions, regardless of the platform.
Now, there's something that is really good for virtual worlds as a whole, not just Second Life, OpenSim, or anybody else. When you can put something like that online that invites people to get a general education or a familiar feel with something they're not familiar with before they go into it. Then I think that adds a lot to inviting those people in.
I think I've experienced a tendency. I came into Second Life as your typical newbie and spent sort of 6 months indulging myself, not knowing where I was going, except that I knew I could fly there. But it's so funny. I think a lot of the most successful communities in Second Life, be they educational or not, do actually take this approach. They have people to welcome you, and where possible, they individually talk you through the experience of getting to know what you're doing. And that's a course in itself, elementary, of course. But sorry, no plain words intended. But the idea of guided tours, is treating the virtual world a bit like, some people go on holiday, other people go on cruises and things where they're guided, don't they? So the principle of bringing people into immersive spaces, really, and actually guiding them through it to help them understand things or to tackle a given topic, is I think really the best way to engage, especially new audiences who really would.
Exactly. You're not going to be able to accomplish that in world, and so taking this to the web, like they're talking about doing there, is the perfect venue, I think, for inviting those people in and to get past that fear of virtual worlds being, like a techie place to begin with, that kind of scares people off, because of the learning curve that's involved. And I think they're addressing this learning curve fear that the public may have about becoming engaged in virtual worlds. So I think that's a wonderful idea.
Well, certainly we're trying. I mean, one of the things that we also do as part of the conference, there's two other things that we tend to do. One is there's a conference proceedings journal that's actually registered with the Library of Congress that it makes available most of the materials that we have available for citation after the conference is over. But then we also have, at this point, I think we've got close to about 110 hours of filmed archives in terms of presentations and explorations and a lot of other material that we've collected over the last 5-6 years of doing this that is available free of charge. They're all in open source archives, right? And that anybody can come and they can go and they can take a look and they can check out and say, what is this all about? What's going on here? So, that's actually part of our mandate and part of what we're trying to do with this entire program.
Phelan, a quick question with the archives. Do you have any information about how much those have been accessed?
We don't have statistics on that right at the moment. Because we've sort of Well, as most people know, we're sort of doing this on the cheap, so to speak.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is if somebody took a look at how much we're actually spending compared to the value I think people are getting out of it, it's just ridiculous in terms of what I think the return on investment is. It's just, with each conference is under $10,000 in terms of what we're doing, and it's just providing so much benefit to those people that are looking for these particular types of resources. One of the things we haven't quite gotten around to yet, and we're hoping to do over the next year or two, is to start to consolidate a lot of the archives such that we have a very consistent view of that information. So, we're just sort of getting into the process of figuring out how we're actually going to do that. So far, we've put it out into these open source areas and just sort of let the community go and directed them to where those social networks are that they can pull this information from. But we're looking to put together something that is a little bit more comprehensive, and that's something that's going to come out over the next year or two, as we start to get more and more volunteers that will help us put those particular types of things together.
Well, ideally, you have a special video on demand library, really, of all conference proceedings and related materials in one place and available to all channels. Well, I'm involved in this, so I obviously know what kind of job is involved there, especially as over the years you've been broadcast by different broadcasters on different platforms, and some of it's easily on YouTube, some of it's not, and all the rest of it. But yes, we will endeavour to get it all together in one place for you, not just this year, but the backlog as well. Now, maybe you'd like to tell the viewers while we're here what addresses to go for, both for the agenda on this, and I presume the homepage of your site will have the embed of the broadcast stuff while it's going on.
Certainly. Well, all of the links can be accessed by, and I know everybody has problems with this, but it's at this point I'm sort of thinking, there's no possible way we could change this. If we actually made it easy for people to pronounce, that would, I don't know what people would do. Either way, so VWBPE.org. Virtual World's Best Practice in Education. And if you go there, VWBPE, there we go. If you go there under the conference menu, there is the link to the 2013 schedule. And we're using Timely's plugin for that. So, we've got some interesting, neat features that are in there as part of the calendar for this year, including a poster view and a schedule view, and people can download or click on the various events, and they can add them to their Outlook or to their Google Plus calendars as they want to, and get email notifications. So there's all kinds of really neat things that have been happening with the website this year, and there's more that we're planning on doing over the next year. So.
Now, if we overcome the technical hurdles, of course, one of the interesting things about this year's conference is that, this has always been about virtual worlds. It's held in Second Life because that is the big public interface of what we call the metaverse. But this year you'll be having events in Jacadia, for example, if it can be worked out, in Cloud Party, and you've really tried to approach this as a sort of cross-grid, cross-metaverse, cross-platform, whatever you want to call it, exercise, haven't you?
Yeah, this year is the big experiment. There are so many things we've been changing about the conference this year, and it has been a huge learning experience for us.
Yeah, I bet.
I'll say.
Letty's not going to disagree with me on that one.
Oh, hey, no, I'm the one that put together the program, so I know the challenges.
So we're inside OpenSim this year, and we're using some of the facilities we have available in Jocadia Grid, and that is they're furiously working through the last couple of bugs on the hypergrid, but that should be hypergrid enabled by the time Tuesday, Wednesday comes along. So that's one environment that we're going to be in. And it's not meant as a slight to all the other open sim environments that are out there. But it's we sort of have to pick one. So
well, actually, in a way, I see that it being the one. It doesn't. That's one of the beauties of the hypergrid. It doesn't really matter what grid the event takes place on. You can teleport people in from all over the hypergrid. So you're on Jacadia as the auditorium, as it were, but you're actually on OpenSim, full stop. Which is great. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's going to be interesting because there's a few more places that are going to be online with regards to the hypergrid later on this year. But certainly, then there's other places like Inworlds and Spot on 3D, which are going to have opportunities to be part of the MOOC and what have you. So we're not trying to be exclusive to anybody that's out there. The other area that we thought would be really interesting to bring people into this year is Cloud Party. And so we've got a whole program on Letty. I believe that's on Thursday morning.
Yes, that's correct. Cloud Party will be hosting us in the morning.
Yep. And so we have a lot of interesting workshops and lectures that are going to be held there. Now, Cloud Party is not voice enabled at this point, but it's still going to be there's a number of lectures and panels and what have you that are going to be in there, and I think the program that we have there is going to be a very interesting program for those people willing to take the opportunity to go in there.
Yeah, I should point out that the team. One of my teams, as it were, that is especially dedicated to if they can arrange the broadcast from Cloud Party. And not having voice seems to be an obstacle, but with many of these things, like this show, you just watch the talking heads and do it via Skype. So hopefully we'll be able to bring all that to you too. So Letty, let's bring you back in. What have we neglected to mention anything exciting on that agenda of yours yet?
There's actually, we have about 100 presentations going on. Phelan already mentioned that we have workshops, lectures, we have panels, we have at the very end, right before our award ceremony, we'll also have a featured panel for resident-run help centers, which hopefully will also feature Carl Metropolitan and General Heron and a few others from some of the best locations here in Second Life. But we certainly have quite a variety of presentations from science, from math, from the arts, from literature, from psychology. It's really a very, very exciting blend. And I encourage everybody to look at our schedule, which is, and I'm going to cross my fingers when I say this, final.
I wish that word was set in stone.
Me too.
But the other thing, of course, Letty, is the very final thing, as it were, on the agenda is the award ceremony, which is going to be hosted by our good friend Pookie Amsterdam.
Yes, that's true.
What's this going to involve? Because awards, that must span a whole array of things.
We're having a small group of awards this year, but we are awarding for machinima. So the featured machinima that you're going to be hosting on Thursday, there's going to be a people's choice. So we will put together a survey so that people can select their favorites from those. So we're going to have 3 awards for that. We will also have awards for posters. So on our poster exhibits, there's also a link on the website for where all our posters are. We encourage everybody to go and explore them. That will also be a People's Choice Award for 3 awards for that as well. So if you can go in there and take a look, that would be great, so that people can pick out. So that's 2, and then the last, second to the last, is on presentations. So for participants who attend the various presentations, whether they be workshops or lectures or panels, they should also cast in a vote for their favorite. And there will be also 3 awards for that as well. And then finally, of course, we have to acknowledge our volunteers, because we have second to none volunteers. And so we're hoping that we can issue out 10 awards to, our best, and brightest, and, go way beyond the call of duty. So those are what we expect to have in our awards ceremony. Phelan, did I leave anything out on that?
If I can just interrupt you both, we've got a bit of a dilemma behind the scenes here. I'm talking to you quite fine, and everybody seems to be in this call, but I've got another duplicate call that seems to be opening in the background, and I'm not entirely sure which call I should be on.
I can explain, Mal. The call that you're on right now that we're speaking over is the one that we're using for the show. It's the emergency call that we set up earlier because we lost you at the beginning of the show today. So we invoked that second call, but now Tara did just IM us all in the first call that we're not really using. So,
I see. So
don't worry.
For a dread second, I thought Letty and I were conversing to no one.
To yourselves, right? No, this is just, we're fine.
Okay. So hopefully Tara can rejoin the actual open call rather than anything else. And yes, my apologies, everybody. If I don't think you can tell from the camera position at the moment, but Tara's seat has been vacated. It has become a void because Second Life sometimes does funny things, and people disappear at a moment's notice and then reappear at their leisure. Usually it's a funny coloured cloud, but we won't go there. Right, this is television, folks, but it's also virtual world television, so live with it. That's all I can say, really. Right, actually, as somebody we haven't heard from much yet is Will Burns, who's sitting next to me. Will, of course, you're familiar with massive number of metaverse grids, some of them predating Second Life, of course. But have you got strong ties to the education industry? I know you do a lot of.
I do happen to deal with a lot of education stuff. I went to the Virtual Education Journal Awards recently, just to hang out and attend. Other than that, Virtual World's best practices in education I keep up on now and then. As for the many grids and what have you, there's plenty that predate Second Life, and there's probably some going on right now. I was in a talk with Kevin something or another, I can't remember. I just MetaWave. He was doing a list for some nonprofit stuff the other day. A couple of nonprofit clients in education, I think, and trying to compile the pros and cons of everything. So I'm doing that in the background with him, helping him out a little bit on a Google document. So is there a context to that question, or just do you know of other stuff?
Just bringing you into the bringing you into the chat, and also sort of seeing in the education focus where out here, the scope of what Phelan and Letty are doing, the Best Practices Conference, is absolutely huge and covers an awful lot.
They're covering many different grids, right? Like cloud bar and stuff.
Oh yeah, but also in terms of subject matter, the broad scope of education, as it were. And yet, sometimes I get that feeling, I'll read about this education thing or that education thing, and somehow they're not fully pulled into the good grief. What is targeting? Never mind. They're not always fully. There seems to be an awful lot of individual events that are happening that sometimes don't actually get into the network, as it were. I'm wondering what we could do to bring more people, more things into that education network, so to speak. I'm sure Phelan would agree.
Well, from my point of view, it seems while I do applaud the effort to include as many grids or systems as possible, it does seem to me that it comes across very disjointed or very I can't really. It just seems like it's all over the map. So whoever you have these different communities, but it caters to more of each flavor of community, and not really the
overall theme of virtual education.
Overall, the theme of it's virtual education, and I love that idea, and I'm always for that. But when you have different themes and stuff, you have and Cloud Party or different systems together. Like a while back, we're doing IEEE. When we're doing the testing and stuff, we did like Olive and Forterra and Active Worlds and Second Life, and we had all these different things. But the thing is that those different groups really never talked to each other. Like we had we're all like compartmentalized within the same theme, and there's no really there's no sense of larger involvement. If that's what if I can figure out the terminology here.
Well, I think I know what you mean. I'm not going to mention any names here, but in the back channels prior to VWBPE, I did notice. I suppose you could call it a slight disconnect between people working in something like Cloud Party, which isn't OpenSim, it's a very particular platform, and say Second Life. People weren't necessarily involved in both. They were involved in
one or the other.
Their particular thing. And I know what Kevin here is trying to do. Is widen the scope of that, and that is to say, well, this is virtual worlds education, and you will agree, I'm sure, Kevin. I'm speaking for you, Phelan, but the idea is to encompass all these platforms and say, hey, there is a connect here. We're all doing education and we're all doing it in different platforms, but at the end of the day, we're all using immersive spaces to do it.
I think within reason. I think within reason, though, because I mean, and to talk to Will's point, I mean, these communities are very much fractured. There is a very siloed base approach to them. So the World of Warcraft community basically says, why would we even want to look at Second Life? Same thing if you look at EVE Online and if you look at a lot of these other groups that are out there. So while education can occur inside these areas, trying to get them to crosstalk is sort of like getting Republicans to talk to Democrats. I mean, it just doesn't really happen.
Cats herding, herding cats in a lightning storm.
Yeah, pretty much, right? So it's there. I think to bring this down to something, really, you've got to sort of tap into something which is consistent to all of them, and something like education, where you talk about education and best practices, that is something that cuts across all of these areas, and so it gives people an opportunity to show others what it is that they're doing in their environment. It gives them an opportunity to stand up and say, look at me, I'm special, and this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I have an idea for that, actually. It just kind of ran through my head. What if all of those different virtual worlds that were doing all those classes were using a hub online, like a web hub for the scores, and we're competing against each other for scores and stuff? Would that create a crosstalk?
I don't know, because I mean, the certain groups tend to use very specific technologies. Like if you look at World of Warcraft, they very much get into things like TeamSpeak. If you look at EVE Online, they're totally into something like Mumble, and the different.
Well, I'm saying for testing or something like that, for worksheets or something. When you're doing worksheets or something, it could be like a centralized kind of hub on a website, and then they can only use the same kind of interface for that online.
Yeah.
And then compete against each other, even if they're in World of Warcraft or maybe Minecraft or whatever. They can only use that centralized kind of hub for the worksheets, and then they can compete. They can do community against community to crosstalk.
Yeah, I think so, but I think you'd have to use a technology like either mobile or tablets or something along those lines. Something that's a little bit divorced from what it is that they're doing, but close enough to something that they're used to working with, that they can sort of bridge that gap without having to make too much of a emotional leap.
I have an idea. You can put a camera person in each virtual world and have them all live stream to the same live stream channel. Like if we have 6 virtual worlds, like Cloud Party, Second Life, Inworlds, whatever, have a camera person in each setting, and then they can compete, because they could watch each other on the web, and you could have some kind of competition after the course is over, or something like that to get them engaged with each other.
So now you just heard Petlove agree to do this for us, right?
Well, no, actually, this is something rather interesting, actually, is in the last few months, of course, we've been doing this Inworld review, which is working out just great. But we used to run the Metaverse Week in Review totally on live stream, and people used to drop in and out with web cameras. And I have yet to actually organise a good time to do a one on a regular basis, be it monthly or something. But I planned to replace sort of what we used to do in Week in Review by using Google Hangouts. And that would allow us to bring people back in on webcam and have sort of more of those kind of discussions. But the reason I introduced it with that, so to speak, is that I'm getting an increasing number of recorded YouTube Hangouts in my video feeds. They normally last an hour or something, and I've actually seen quite a few educational ones where what actually happens is a lot of educators log into Google Hangouts, and they don't actually appear on webcam. What they do is they all screencast from different virtual worlds. And natter. Sometimes it goes to a webcam, sometimes it goes to a virtual world. But I've certainly seen some from World of Warcraft and things like that, sort of almost out of my field of reference, because I'm not too into the gaming spheres, unless they're put to really serious use. But it's quite interesting, and I think you could do something like a Google Hangout as a sort of annex to an actual virtual world conference, where you're actually bringing examples of all the virtual worlds into one place on separate cameras, which is probably more potent than the way we use live stream at the moment, because Google Hangouts can cope. They can certainly scale to a lot of people.
It strikes me, if I can. If I can interject just a thought, and that is that I think something like that could be really powerful if you focused it in a curriculum sort of way. In other words, if it was focused on some kind of hot topic for, say, junior high age teachers, or high school age, or college age, or K-12 English, or K-12 science, or a focus like that where you've got some educational common denominator that would bring people together, because it's the same subject, it's the same age group of students.
So if I can remove my VWBPE hat for a moment and do a little plug for Rockcliffe here, this is actually one of the things we're actually looking to do over the next couple of years at Rockcliffe itself. Is we've got a program that's currently in development right at the moment, which is going to be talking about the instructional development within virtual worlds. And it's not going to be focused just in Second Life, but it's going to be looking at probably about a dozen different virtual worlds and how we actually manage to create curriculum content for these particular types of environments. So, it is something that I know we're looking at specifically.
It's I tend to agree with Tara. Certainly something, because the reach you have with Google, if they're handled properly with all the circles and stuff, is probably going to be far greater. And I think it would definitely need to be, you could have a conference there, but I think it needs to be targeted pretty narrowly. But one of the nice things about VWBPE, for example, is that, looking through the agenda and things like that, I see that we have, presenters from the UK here, we have presenters all over America, we have Latin America, if I'm right, you yourself a Canadian. It's very much, it has to be really an English language thing, otherwise we'd get into all sorts of translation difficulties. But it does seem to me that there's already a really broad reach there. I mean, possibly this is like the kind of, that I go up to a local school, there'll be maybe one or two teachers in the local school who are the kind of people who will attend conferences because they're head teachers or they've got a particular interest in going to the conference, whereas most other teachers will be absorbed with their own subject, the subject they're teaching. And so, the step up the ladder to a conference is really a bit out of their, I won't say they're not interested, but it's sort of out their domain, they just want to get on with what they do. So, something like Google Hangouts is probably a better solution for the individual teacher, as it were, or the individual subject, rather than the grand, overall scheme of bringing everything together.
Tall order. It's a tall order, but it can be done.
Yeah, and everybody goes silent.
I tried, Mal. I tried.
You tried.
We're trying to get Mal to go to Canada. It'll be awesome.
Well, I kind of agree with Mal in that I think Google would make a good back-end for individual and targeted study and focus groups and that kind of thing, but I don't see it as a platform for the overall front page, so to speak, of what you're doing.
I think if it was entertainment, like serious work culminating in some form of fun. Like, I hate to be trite here, but the show, Are You As Smart As a Fifth Grader? What was that show? Where the adults tried to...
Are you smarter than a fifth grader?
Is that what it was?
It was with Jeff Foxworthy?
Yeah. Like, something like that between...
Most people weren't.
I know.
That was a shame.
It's hard for some people.
It's hard.
But something like that, well, not hard for some people, but hard for the general masses. And something like that, I can see lots of people in lots of different worlds, like they can all relate. It's like, oh, I'm stupid, you're stupid, but we're all so smart. Oh boy, we're in different worlds. Yay, let's all do it again. Like that type of momentum might be what you need.
There's a good method to that madness in that, at least in that aspect, if you're comparing yourself to fifth graders, it allows adults to laugh at themselves. And I think if you can laugh at yourself, then I think you can learn. You're open to learn.
And you can break down barriers.
There's a show waiting up there. Welcome once again to this week's version of Are You Smarter Than an Avatar?
Well, actually, I've just thought of another one that actually could be a real hooker. And that is, you have programs on radios and TVs and things like Battle of the Bands. Why not have a Battle of the Worlds? Put it through Google, and it will be competitive.
Battle of the Worlds. Okay.
Well, it could be competitive. It could be a game. Sort of some. The participants log in from their own favoured world, and they start screencasting, and then somebody in one world can challenge another world to do another thing, and you can make a whole competition. Have fun out of it.
It would have to be like split screen live streaming.
It's
I think whatever challenge it is would have to be duplicated on each side. So you'd have to be taking the same challenge, but then you can just go from a Second Life version versus Color Party versus whatever version, and then you'd be able to say, do this.
Yeah, I think the Google Hangout thing brings that better to you in real time because it shows all those little windows underneath, so you can always see all the other cameras in their worlds as well as the main one that's on there at a given time. But anyway, that is thought for the future. Actually, that could be very entertaining sort of program idea.
Could do some groundbreaking anyway. If you wanted to try it, it's a neat idea.
So yes, we'll think of that for the future. Although I must admit, I prefer it has many faults, but I do prefer live stream for the straight television sort of style coverage. It's unencumbered by all the Google logos and stuff, but it tends to work very well. So I'm just thinking. Back to best practices. Is there anything else we haven't covered on this front that people should know about? We know where they can watch it. We know where the website is. Inworld, of course, they should look up. If they just type VWBPE in the map, they will actually find a number of locations. And the One Smart Central is really the main venue for most of the things in Second Life, isn't it, Phelan?
It is, although the main gateway location is just sort of south and west of there on the map, and so that's called VWBPE Gateway. We tried to make that nice and simple, notwithstanding the name.
VWBPE is going to have to turn into some kind of word.
We'll have to work on that.
Yeah, I'm way too challenged for that.
But I think
it is a handful to get. Sorry.
Sorry, I was just about to say, probably the in terms of just sort of like a public announcement type thing, I mean, I think the most important thing right at the moment is that we do have the presenters frequently asked questions up, which includes, especially for those people being filmed, has all the instructions that we need them to make sure that they go through and they read what's in there, just because we do have some setup that's got to be done in advance. So, and every year we get the same thing where, people show up 5 minutes before and say, I'm here, let's record.
I'm here, man. I'll make my slides work, but you're on in 5 minutes.
And they don't work.
So we want them there 15. We want the presenters there half an hour before, if we can really do that, right? That it would be helpful to everybody, I think.
And if they brought their slides too, that would be nice.
And if they have their slides
that's
2 days, 3 days before the event starts. And not 3 days before their session, but 3 days before the event starts.
Yeah, we're sending messages and back channels about all this, but the word of advice basically is do a rehearsal some days beforehand, and also arrive early to make sure everything is sort of ready for you to do it live when you come to do it live. It's one of those things people sometimes forget. They think, it's in the inventory, I can res it and start.
Well, you never know when stuff's going to catch fire.
It's never
catch fire and explode.
Exactly. It's never quite that simple. But
sorry.
Yes,
there is something that I do want to mention. However, that wonderful that Parameram has built for us, that wonderful spectacular VWBPE central build.
Yeah.
This is going to be the last year that we're going to be building. We're going to be using that particular building.
Oh.
So people will want to, if people want to come in and get photographs and what have you, this is the time to come in and do it, because we're going to be contracting with and I apologize, I have problems with his name, but Parameram is we're contracting with him again to build next year's version of the Central Stadium. So this is going to be the last year people are going to get to see this particular build, and there will be a brand new central auditorium for next year. So just a heads up to people that if they want photographs, now is the time to come in and do it.
Yeah, now they can get in advance, can't they? So that's no problem.
Yep. No, they can. It's open right now. Right, so that specifically so the presenters can go in and do a little bit of practice in advance, but certainly if people want to come in, take a look around, see, get some photographs, what have you, now's the time to do it, because come the end of August, that building is going to go away, and that may be the last time we may see that.
Well, I must say I've been in there a few times this week, just even I wasn't sure it was going to be the same build, but when I got there I sort of saw it, and it's a wonderful build, folks, actually, even if you have no interest in education or what we're talking about here. The Central Auditorium, if you like steampunk, for example, you'll love it. It's a huge construct, and it's got mist above the surfaces and things. In fact, our cameras, actually, from where they're positioned, have to zoom under the clouds.
Oh my!
to actually see the stage and film. It's still quite easy to do, actually, but it's when you're standing at the top, the audience seats it's across 4 sims, and they're way down there beneath you under this sort of, I think it's a red kind of mist, and it invokes this whole mood, which is great. It's something exceptional. It's not just it's not a standard schoolroom, folks.
I was going to say, I wish my rooms had been like that. It would have been very interesting.
Back when we were at college, if only we'd had auditoriums like that. Yeah. So it's pretty wonderful stuff there. So any steampunk person will drool when they see it, regardless of their interest in what's happening in it. And also on the Gateway Sim, I believe you'll be resing a television set in Inworld too, won't you, Phelan? So people attending Inworld in Second Life can, if they're not watching on the web, can actually watch it in World as the various locations change.
Yeah, we'll have a few of those set up at different locations, so that won't be a problem.
Right. So
I have a last question for Phelan. and that is, given the fact that you've gotten front page publicity by the official Second Life blog in various places, I trust you have made suitable arrangements with your stage managers and others that they have estate rights and can deal with troublemakers?
Yes, we definitely. Oh, believe me, yes, we definitely. We've actually been very fortunate in the fact that the number of griefing incidences, because Second Life, ever since that Ashley Chung thing got front page, right? I mean, it's just sort of, and I realize that's going back a ways, but it's Second Life is subject to teenagers and what have you, even though they're technically not supposed to be in here, right? Coming in and griefing and doing things that they feel are fun, but really are just being disruptive and annoying to everybody around them. So, we've been actually very, very fortunate, and the number of incidences we've had to really address have been extremely low compared to other events that are here. And so, part of that is because we do have state managers who do know what it is that they're doing. I mean, we don't put, I hate to refer to people in Second Life as being junior or senior, but I mean, there are certainly people who are in here that know their stuff when it comes to parcel management and estate management, region management, this type of thing. And, all of our stage managers are longtime Second Life residents who know exactly how to sort of ban somebody's butt very quickly if somebody starts to get out of line.
Okay, incidentally, Phelan, we have got a couple of things coming in back chat here, actually, which I might as well mention so you can answer them. I know some of your participants are wondering about who to contact to arrange for slides and submitting videos and stuff. I know behind the scenes here, a lot of that we've taken care of, but are there any particular messages you want to send out to presenters and people involved this year?
Yeah, if presenters, because we realize that sometimes the presenter slides are not ready until 5 minutes before they actually go onto the stage. Ideally, we are asking for all the presenters that after the conference is over to please send copies of the slides back to the programs area, back to Letty and the folks there, so that what we can do is we can put them up on SlideShare, and then we can link those through to the journal once the journal comes out at the end of August. With regards to people taking individual machinimas or videos or what have you, if you could send those links to info@VWBPE.org. And what we will do is we will include any videos or any Flickr pages or what have you, because we both on both YouTube and Flickr, we have a series of playlists on there. And what we've been trying to do each year is, as people have their own videos, we've been trying to put those into playlists so that people can get access to that information as well, and we make that part of the public archive. So if you just send us a link at info@VWBPE.org, even I have trouble sometimes, then we'll get those included, and that will become part of the permanent record, so to speak.
Right, and we're always actually hunting down stuff on YouTube searches and stuff like that, so we'll often find clips that are done that we don't know about, but it's really important if you do something that you let us know so that we can look at it and maybe include it in other things. Right, well, I think we'll widen. I think we've got our main subjects tackled here, so maybe very briefly, because time is doesn't wait for everybody. I'll just go through a few other notes we got here and maybe just open the discussion for things in Second Life. There's a Second Life magazine called Retropolitan, I think it is, and they are having their final print issue. I think that's another one at issue. They've been running for 5 years in Second Life, and the July issue is going to be their last. I'm not sure why. Tara's already mentioned the hair fair. LaPiscean, you may know about the next one. Basically, the current LEA round is ending. This would be the applications round or the actual round of exhibits?
This is the heirs round, the artist in residence, where they get a sim for 6 months to create their build and promote it and that kind of thing. Anyway, we're in the end of round 4, and the round 5 applications have closed, and I think we had 36 or right around there applications come in this time, of which we will vote on the top 20, and those votes had to be in by last night. So very shortly we'll know who the new artist will be on the LEA Heirs Sims.
Great. Okay, so we'll keep an eye open for that. SL News had a report. I don't know whether this is actually... Well, it's this week. Yes, it must be. Yes, another RFL event is taking place at Tokyo Steampunk Steelhead. And it is the annual Steelhead RFL horse races. So, if you fancy seeing some horses racing around its Second Life, Avatar horses, of course. Raising money for Relay for Life.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Go to Steelhead.
Do they have mint juleps?
I don't know. I just hope it's better than the. I saw somewhere recently they had somebody visited some horses. I think it was at the birthday build, and they what's the name? Dressage. That's it.
You got a link for that? Because I'm going. I'm gonna get smashed on mint juleps. I'm gonna throw stuff at the horses, man.
I'm confused. They're calling it steelhead, but steelhead is a fish.
Well, everybody in Second Life has an entire folder full of guns. So if we're all up in the stands taking pot shots at the horses, we can decide who's going to.
Stop it now, Will.
Come on, it's an interactive sport.
Yeah.
There is a sim. There is a sim or a group of sims called Steelhead. I have been there. I'm sure of it.
I'm kind of surprised.
Oh, I believe you.
I'm trying to keep it G-rated here. I mean, we're talking about a sim called Steelhead, and I'm talking about horses. I'm trying to keep it nice here. And the same thing with Mal. Just because Mal's been there, I'm not going to pass judgment on the pimp.
Actually,
and there's one thing I've never understood about racing in general in a virtual world, and that is, how can anybody do it if you can edit the object they're racing and it comes to a dead stop?
Now you guys are just setting this up.
Awesome.
You have to stop. You're giving people the wrong ideas.
Click the horse in front of you,
including
and
me.
die. Horsey, die.
Ow. Die. No, we want these horses to compete and win and raise money for RFL.
No cheating.
No cheating and no griefing. Tut tut.
No snipers?
Okay, let's move on. I believe the creator is an avatar called Mona Eberhardt. I'm not quite sure, but it's an installation called The Infinite Space of the Mind's Eye, and if you want to have a glance at this, then after this program, we have a feature clip on that particular installation in the art segment. My letter to
Mona's an old friend of mine. That's her second name.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's from what I can see on the machinima, that looks absolutely stunning, although I'm quite into that kind of thing. So, what's this? Oh yes, Harper Beresford, I think, was the one who published this in her Around the Grid blog, but there's something going on called Around the World in 196 books. That's books, BOOKS. Sounds intriguing. This is a Second Life event, by the way. It's not sort of on the web or anything like that. I'd have to dig up more information. But if you're into literature and you think that sounds intriguing, it's simply known as Around the World in 196 books. And Harper Beresford's blog Around the Grid has more on that. In fact, I've got it twice.
In my travels, I guess I'm allowed to plug a sim or something going on.
Sure, yeah. Anything you know of, folks, that's going on at the moment, butt in and
Okay, Sonosity Fitzroy is doing a sim called Virtualantis. She's written a book about Second Life, and she's pretty well known in the community. You know Sony. Anyway, I would invite people to go check out probably the most beautiful soundscape. And I mean, I've been on a lot of sets, but Virlantis, Virlantis, the sim Virlantis, when you land there in the Highlands and you start to walk around, you will be so immersed in an audio. I mean, these sounds are so exact into the areas that you're walking, and I mean, they just bring this sim to absolute life with this soundscape stuff that she's doing over there. And it's also something that she's doing with her educational studies and her students.
That's
so
awesome.
I would invite people to see that sim. I went over there, and I'll tell you, usually I don't have a lot of time, when people say, hey, Lap, come check this out, or Lap, come check that out.
Yeah.
You know how that is. You don't really have a lot of time. But I told her I would get over and check it out, and I couldn't even at the time she asked me, but later on I did go over there just so that I could say I went over there. And lo and behold, Jiminy Christmas, I was over there for 2.5 hours.
All right.
That's a good recommendation.
Yeah.
That sounds like something I'm going to go over there for, because I'm a total audiophile. I love the whole immersive environment audio stuff. So, yeah, I'm definitely heading out there later on today.
There you go.
Yeah, this is you've just kindly put the sort out in the batch house here, and this looks like to be a UWA sim as well. So it's UWA Virlantis.
It's a joint venture. It's a joint venture with the UWA and the University of Illinois, I think it is.
Right. Yeah, I was just going to say,
really?
because I had that on my list already.
University of Illinois. Okay, now I'm really interested.
Is that the one that has a good music program?
Well, she has several different levels on here. Like there's a space area, and then there's the highlands, and then there's the forest. But in all of these, it is the soundscape that really immerses you into what you're looking at and walking through. So once you're there, I mean, you can't help but just keep kind of moving along to see what. I walked up to the pub, and just as I got outside the door of the pub in the Highlands, you could hear all these guys in there and all this cheer and drinking and laughter going on, and it was kind of freaky to walk in and the place was empty. But
yeah, that's usually the downside. But other than that, it's good though.
Outside it, you would believe there you are.
That's the sort of place that I like hanging out. I love those, full attention to immersive audio and immersive environments, paying attention to all the different little things. I love that stuff. Because most people, you go to a lot of sims around here, and people's idea of immersive audio is blast the radio.
Yeah. Typical. The name Virtualantis was very familiar to me because I think they had a sim of their own at some point, which was or either that or somebody else with a very similar name, which had a very strong educational connection. They had weekly sort of tutorial events of some sort. Whether it's the same group, I don't know, but but this one definitely has educational connections too. So it links in with our educational theme, as it were, which is actually more than can be said for the next one. Now, this is quite good. There's a dance group who turn up at Bostle Awards and things like that in Second Life called the Dazzlers.
Yeah.
Yes, we know them.
Know them well. Mm-hmm.
July the 19th and 20th. Now, what's the date today? I think we might be halfway through this.
21st.
Oh, okay. Well, they were having a little showcase, so never mind.
Maybe somebody filmed it.
I also have from Kara's Corner. Call for entries. NSS in SL Lunar Robotics Building Challenge. Is this one for you, Will? The press release states call for entries. The lunar building. Humankind first landed on the moon in July 20th, 1969, blah, blah, blah. The National Space Society and Second Life will hold annual commemoration of the first moon landing from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. on July 20th. I guess that's past 2.
Old news is good news. Old news
yeah, okay, forget it. Wait, yeah,
this week has been very confusing after that telephone now. It's not your fault.
I have some technology news for you that's current and up to date.
I think first we have to say goodbye to Letty, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Before she runs away.
Okay, she has to
Sorry,
run.
well,
okay, yes, I gather some of our people have to run, don't they? So thanks very much for being with us, Letty.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
I will be seeing a lot more of you over the next few days, I'm sure, but good luck with the logistics of virtual world best practices.
Saint Letty and Saint Phelan.
Yeah.
And Saint all the rest of the great people putting it on.
As you get yourself suitably jacked up for a 4-day stint of marathon events and all that. Yes, the last few days are always crazy.
Oh, yes, definitely. Well, thank you very much. We're looking forward to a great event. And Mal, we will be talking to you more often as well this week.
Yeah,
thank you all.
Maybe at some point when it's more lax, we'll get you back on the show again to talk about something completely different, as Monty Python said.
That would be interesting. Thank you.
I don't know, but you never know. Well, thanks very much for being here anyway. I think everybody else is hanging around for a few minutes. We're pretty much at the top of the show. Yes, the moon thing had prizes, but never mind, it's over.
Built a t-shirt.
I'm just literally, as we're talking, scrolling up the list. Here's another one. Let me open the tab. These are actually quite the current posts, so I don't know why. Another one from Gara, dated Thursday. Machinima World Sonic Lab grand opening. Now that was definitely yesterday. Do we know anything about this? Maybe if you know Lab.
Yes, that is Verlantis. They held so it's called Machinima World, and right. they held Sony's real life birthday and the grand opening of this Verlantis sim and whatnot. That was yesterday, I think, and I couldn't make that because I had a show at the LEA at the same time, so I couldn't make the show, but I did get over to Verlantis, and I guarantee you won't regret it. But that is the same thing, yes. That was Sony's real-life birthday and grand opening to Machinima World.
Right.
Neat.
So that is still there, so we should follow that up. Now, there is one other thing. I don't think we had time to mention it last week in all the aftermath of everything else, but I'm surprised Tara hasn't mentioned this. Mad City. This is the new semi-permanent build from Mad Cow, the games people.
Oh, you mean Mad P?
Sorry, sorry, Ziggy. Sorry, Mad Cow is a brand name of Ziggy's, I think. Yes,
Mad Cow's in there too, but this is Mad P.
Mad P's in it. Wow.
I have seen film of.
Come on, it's one thing to get my name wrong, but Mad P, come on.
Well, everything mad is mad, you know. Everything's mad around here, including me. But Mad City is their latest build. I've seen some film of this, and it's great. It's sort of replaced it. It's they brought down the whole carnival sim bit by bit, so quite a major event. Now they've opened up Mad City, and from what I've seen of it, it's absolutely stunning. I will presume there are a few hunts attached to it somewhere.
Oh yeah, they can't do a bad sim.
Same format, like interactive gaming. Those people are the greatest at games within games.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
A free Star Trek game mod in Second Life, built by Loki Elias, I believe.
Ooh.
I'm not quite sure what you meant to do with it, but I presume you actually buy it off Second Life, and if you're a Trekkie, and I know there are a lot out there, I'm not actually Trekkie, but I do like Star Trek actually, so if you're into that, Loki has built a free Star Trek game mod that works inside Second Life.
Nice.
Right. Actually, I love this. It's a blog during the week, but it's too complicated to give you. But its title was top vacation spots in Second Life.
Oh, okay.
as if everywhere isn't a vacation spot, really.
Yeah.
Honor Macmillan had a great post on virtual time travel, visiting the ancient past in Second Life, and one of the clips coming up later is actually lovely. It's full of dinosaurs, and it's a recreation of the dinosaur era in Second Life. I forget where it is, but it'll probably tell you on the clip if you're hanging around to watch it. And coming up to the top here, there's from today, I think, a new art show has landed at Atelier Creslow. That's really all I can tell you. But that is the list. That is the list in front of me.
I've got something if you like me to talk about it. A project that I'm working on with John Dragoon in Second Life here. Of course, I might need to res something. Little props, since Petlove likes the props.
That's right.
I think, yes, we're about ready to go out, so I think if you're going to crash this in, this will be the time to do it.
How far should I cam back, Will?
No, it's not that big. No, it's not that big. Let me just put it out there real quick. I think this is it. This is a demo. It's not really on. Oh, I can't res it yet. Nope, I can't res.
Oh, that's because I've got this parcel set. Sorry, I wish I'd known ahead of time and I would have had it switched over by now.
That's okay. I'll just talk about it then. Essentially, what John and I are doing is trying to figure out a better way to do destination guide. The thing about destination guide is that it's always the same things, and so is classifieds. The highest bidder, and there's always people who pay a ridiculous amount of money on the top.
And they make Second Life look terrible sometimes.
Yeah, and there's no real way to get what you're really looking for. You always get inundated with a mountain of crap, or you have to look through the destination guide. And it's always at the disposal of maybe Linden Lab or whoever is going at their leisure to pick stuff out. So what John and I have decided to do is we're going to create a HUD that does pretty much a combination of an intelligent location system, a recommendation system. So you tell it what kind of crap you like, and it's kind of like a combination of Stumble Upon, Hunts, and a couple of other things. And we're just mixing them all together and making it into a new hub system. So the more you use it, it's kind of like a crowdsourced version of Destination Guide. So instead of waiting for Linden Lab to figure stuff out or what they like, the server will keep track of what other people like, everybody included. And the more you use it, and the more you use it, the better it gets. So it'll tailor itself to you the more you use it.
That's good. That's good. But it's not good, because then you get locked into things that they already know that you like, and you never see anything different that you never would have thought of.
Oh, you'll see something different. It doesn't always give you everything you like.
Okay.
Like what it does is it learns based on category. It learns based on category, but not necessarily destination. So it's going off of different categories, but not your specific destination. So if you happen to go I love the 80s or something, and you go I like this place, it's not going to just start giving you I love the 80s all the time. It's going to go, okay, you happen to like music a little bit more than this.
Like Netflix.
Right, and it starts balancing out and saying, okay, well, you like these things, but you also happen to like this a little bit more than this on your list. So we'll kind of lean towards recommending stuff that you like more.
Yeah.
And it's not going to give you the same destinations. It's going to start tossing random stuff in there too.
So will the results? Let's say that you searched for a shirt and I searched for a shirt.
It's not searching.
Would your HUD give us the same results?
No. It's what it does is you're not really searching for anything. It's a single button pretty much with 2 karma points on it, and you can submit stuff, locations. Those work differently, but what we're shooting towards is it's like I say I have a bunch of topics or genres or whatever that I like on the system.
Categories or channels, right?
Categories and channels, and then what I do is from there I have a single button that says recommend something. It's just a button. You click it and it goes, okay, how about this? And you can choose to go there or not. And if you go there and you like it, you give it a little bit of get a little love, and it goes, all right, no problem. It starts weighting the results as you use the system. So things you like and what you don't like, and it starts weighting it back and forth. So it's really just a recommendation system for people who sit around all day going, I've been to the same 20 places in Second Life over and over again, and that's the same events over and over again. I want something new, something interesting, something I've never seen. Because there's a huge grid out here, and most of us have never seen all of it, and there's no way we're going to. So there's probably a ton of really interesting little spots or little things that people could find and submit to the system and say, this is interesting to me because of whatever. But you'll never know about it because it could be buried in a sim behind somebody's house or something, and you'll never know. But with this system, you would. If people discover it and they submit it to the system, if it's popular and it actually is interesting to the group, which is everybody's using the system, then it keeps the popularity going. And it will, it will give you a crowdsourced method for location discovery. And that's how it's supposed to work.
That sounds like a good way to... it's in essence here. It's promoted by the likes or the people that visit what comes up. So I see where, let's say, the well-knowns, everybody knows where they're at and stuff. But the underdogs, so to speak, get a chance at getting promoted then this way.
Absolutely. And what we're doing is we're going to keep it really reasonable, because we know it's going to end up. With the kiosk, or we're making 3 kiosks or 3 little kiosks, I guess, beacons, small, medium, and large, depending on how much space you got. But the way we're going to do it is that we're going to have it, we're bouncing around the idea now that it's going to be 50 linden a month. It's just like super cheap to any venue owner, or 100 linden if you want to throw some extra sponsored version, just to give it a little bit cover server costs. We're not really looking for like a massive profit. We're looking just to cover costs and make a little bit on the side, but keep it reasonable. So it's going to cost you no more than a standard classified.
That'll be real interesting to see how this works out. A friend of mine in Second Life, he's a real well-known scripter, Rumble Arboa. He made something he made a HUD like what you're talking about, with a screen for advertising and that kind of thing, and it was also subscription based, and it started out. It worked beautifully, but it never really seemed to catch on. It just didn't seem to get out there to everybody. You've got to distribute this HUD that you're talking about.
Actually,
what we're doing,
we actually thought about that, because I've had put a lot of thought into this in the last couple of months, trying to design a system on my end. The distribution is going to be beta. We're going to actually run a beta on it, wherein the beta is going to be available on Marketplace free, and we were not going to charge for it. So while you have your kiosks up and your HUDs, everything's free during beta.
That'll at least put it in their hands, and that was a big issue.
Yeah, we're going to make sure everybody can have it freely. They can grab a copy of the kiosk freely, and it's the same kiosk. So when it goes from beta to live, you don't have to switch kiosk, get a new one. It'll just switch itself over.
Right, good idea.
We're have a shot at it.
Yeah,
good idea.
It actually reminds me of I had Robbie somebody had a thing called Meta HUD some time ago.
I've heard something
actually, if you could mute a second, Joel, I'm getting a bit of feedback. That's again allowed you to sort of tag destinations. But people forget. Ooh, I'm sorry about the noise, folks. I'm trying to mute. There we are. People forget that Second Life is so darn big, and quite frankly, I don't believe Linden Lab's destination guide really does it justice. They do sort of pick and choose and highlight, and wonderful stuff they pick, maybe, but it's only a fraction of what is there. And I think there needs to be a community-based system, tagging stuff. Now, while we were chatting there, we've actually been joined by another old friend of the channel here, Joel Foner. He's also in World, but I'm sort of waiting for him to take his seat next to Phelan. We are sort of about to wrap, but I thought it'd be nice for him to drop in and say hello. We haven't seen him for a few weeks, so if you are you there, Joel? Hello, Joel. I see him in the call, the audio, but I don't see his avatar. Okay.
And I see his name on my list.
Okay, oh yes, yeah, Joel is resting slowly, so we'll let him do. We'll let him.
Of course, he's got. So we're not hearing him.
Yeah, we'll let him do that and then bring the camera around to him in a minute. So while we're waiting, anything else? Anything exciting you're looking forward to this week, folks? Apart from VWBPE, of course, Phelan.
Have you heard anything, Mal, related to the 48-hour film project in Second Life? Do you have any news on that? Any updates on that?
I don't. I rather wish I did. I was contacted by somebody behind the scenes who I think was one of the original people behind it, and she's taken over, so I'm told, from Chantal Harvey as the sort of main force behind that. I think it's scheduled for late August. No, I think it's actually scheduled for October. Now, we invited her onto the show here to talk about it, some weeks ago now, and sort of up to 2 days beforehand, she was in back channels, excited, confirming everything else. Then come to showtime, she didn't show up, so we're not quite sure what happened, and we sent a few IMs and haven't heard anything back. So I'm assuming, I'm hoping that when there is some news, we'll get it from her. I mean, I gather one of the things we were being asked was about broadcasting it or hosting it or something or other, but I can't tell you much more, because unless you've got any more news, I haven't yet. It certainly seems to be planned to go ahead, and I think the weekend that it will actually happen on is sometime in October, possibly near the end of October, but until I hear more back.
Okay, I'll see what I can find out on that. I think it was Pookie or somebody that tried to put her in touch with me, and we still haven't been in contact on that. But whatever I find out, then I'll make sure you're on top of that.
Yeah, because obviously we'd all like to help them and bring you.
Then I can work for both of you at once.
Yes. Look at it. Yeah. So to be decided, I think, but it was certainly announced. And I do know it has a new head, so to speak, rather than Chantal Harvey. So we will bring you news on that when we get it.
Bobbykins must be doing real well.
Oh, good. Good to hear.
Yes.
Chantal and Tony's ebooks and films.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Certainly hope so. They're curious characters, the Bobbykins.
Well, I mean, in her stepping down from producing the Machinima project, 48-hour film Machinima, in that she just probably doesn't have the time, I mean, with all that she's involved with now.
She's done it, it's like the Mama Machinima group and stuff like that. She's done it for so long, and she does have other interests. Actually, they're all related interests, as it were, but time is of the essence, and if you got to earn a buck, you got to go where the bucks seem to be, so to speak, as the Americans would probably say.
They say money walks.
Yep, we all seem to have a tendency to move on. In a year or two, probably Petlove will be bringing you a View TV.
Oh, stop.
I'll be on to something else, I'm sure.
Right. Oh, I think from the background noise I hear, it's time to welcome Joel. Are you there, Joel? Hello, are we there, Joel?
Text.
Isn't this wonderful with live TV? maybe we're better on webcams. Joel has a habit of coming to us from Wi-Fi in cafes, and back in the old days when we had live webcams on the show, we got a tour of all the local cafes. A new cafe every week, I think it was. Are we there, Joel? Right. So I do not. I still don't hear Joel, which is a shame, because
Joel wanted to talk about what can go wrong in a broadcast.
Oh, right, yes.
He wanted to remember the challenge of voice, Skype, rezzing.
Yeah,
good stuff.
The old
Lead by example, Joel. Lead by example, my man.
We're here for you, Joel.
Okay.
By the time he gets everything together, we'll have a Kickstarter campaign set up and some charity. We'll be like, save Joel Savard.
Help Joel's sound settings. $20,000. And look, he's getting comfortable.
He's taking a nap.
Are you on the iPad, Joel?
Yeah, I think we'll turn the camera away from Joel now.
That's quite well. This is
not fair.
A reclining grey statue. This is life in Second Life, isn't it? Okay. Anything else coming up this week? We'll wait for Joel.
Well, I have a little tidbit here, and this is apropos the discussion about Verlantis and audio. Seems Dizzy Banjo and Ishi Odawara have teamed up and produced a new device called a Sonodrome Onyx. It's a physics-based generative ambient music sculpture. There, say that 3 times fast. It generates music in a randomized way, which is never the same twice. It's built on Second Life's built physics engine, and so they request that you please use this product with care and consideration to other residents on your sim, because sometimes Second Life physics can cause lag. But anyway, it's just gone on sale at Dizzy's little shop, which is in Bloomfield. And if you look up Dizzy Banjo, you'll find it in his picks. So that's definitely something to check out. Dizzy has done some amazing audio stuff in Second Life and elsewhere. And of course, Eshi does some rather fantastic sculptures and clothing and Inworld art and all that good stuff. So I actually picked one up, but I think I'm going to have to log off and back on again to actually have it show up in my inventory. so I can't set one up and give you a.
I will, so I'll certainly check that out. Dizzy is wonderful, and Eshi too. Great to know they're teaming up again. Eshi used to do a lot of art builds and things, but she's still very regular in Second Life, but she concentrates on fashion, and she's a lot low profile these days.
She actually, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say, Dizzy is sort of newly back, as it were. On a fairly frequent basis. But yeah, sorry, Petlove.
Oh, I was just going to say, Eshi is starting again. I don't know if she had a hiatus or not, but she's collaborating with a lot of different people lately. I noticed she provided a beautiful set for one of Nicole X's films a short while back. Really, really pretty, giant, big, fluffy flowers. It was just really gorgeous. But yeah, Eshi's amazing.
I was listening to what you were saying about Dizzy's and Eshi's work in the audio stuff, and I remember, I think it was around 06. This is way back, 05 or 06. I came across this thing where you placed it on your sim, and then you invited people like we are here in the panel to chat, and this thing made ambient sounds and tones according to vowels and consonants used in the chat. And then your conversation would then create a musical a melody or whatever,
like an orchestra.
Right.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Yeah, it was amazing stuff, and he did a whole similar thing that didn't rely on chat or anything. It worked completely with proximity to where he had the sound scripted, as it were. So you could, it reacted to your avatar's movements and things like that. So Tara and I went to a lot of Disney stuff, come to think of it. We even had a group called Meta Music, which was sort of like a meta. There was metanomics and there was meta music for a while. Interestingly enough, but that was old history. We must have an old history show someday. Just
a retro show.
Sit here and sort of memories of what was that, what isn't now, and stuff like that.
Just as long as we don't have to become as the avatars we were.
Oh, well,
oh, that would be great.
Grumpy old avatars too.
We did have a meeting here in that we're broadcasting here from Chilbo in Second Life, of which Tara and I are both members, and it's a building community here. And we did have a town hall some time back where it was insisted I came in our earliest possible avatar. Not a great deal of excitement from me at the idea, but never mind. I think I dug it up from somewhere, didn't I? Anyway, I think we're going to have to call this a fail on Joel. We were about to wrap the show anyway, and he apparently is finding Second Life to be rather unstable. Maybe he needs to update the viewer. There have been a lot recently, and also on Skype. So one way or another, I think we'll just have to say, do come back next week, Joel. We haven't seen you for ages, and it looks like we're not going to see you today. So I think we've covered about everything, and our tape is no doubt running rather long. So I think it's about time to wrap up. Did you have anything else to wrap up with, Tara?
No, that was my wrap up.
That was your wrap up. Okay.
That was my wrap up. Yes.
Yeah.
I covered everything else.
Okay. Well, with that, I think we can sort of sign out and move into the clicks. Switch back to Metaverse Weekend Review for you to watch about 2 hours more of clips. Some great and varied stuff coming up as usual. That's all I can say, including a few I've actually mentioned in advance. Meanwhile, I'd like to thank all our guests once again. Letty, who's actually disappeared, but we thanked her already. Hope to see her soon. Thank you to Phelan Corrimal.
Thank you for having me.
And best of luck with the coming week. You're going to need it, I think. Best of luck to all of us, really. And it's an exciting week ahead, so enjoy it and feel proud of what you're doing.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right. Thank you also to LaPiscean Liberty, AView TV, and various other names. Thank you very much, Lap, for coming along.
Thanks so much for having me, Mal.
Great stuff as ever. Thanks to our wonderful camera woman, Petlove, who Petlove Petshop has also been on the panel, and it's always great to have her in the chat too. So thank you, Pet.
Thank you.
And thank you, of course, to another regular, Will Burns.
Oh, thank you for having me once again.
AKA, now I never did find out about the sophisticated pimp, but it will have to wait.
No, we're gonna spit it out right now. You can't dodge it. Back in grumpy old avatars, you and your purple. I went to go look for an image of you, and for the blog.
I have to explain, folks, that...
Oh, he needs backstory now. Cover his butt.
This guy called me...
It's not what it looks like.
A sophisticated pimp, live in a blog in the week, and I want an explanation.
Well, that's fair enough. Pimp being, kind of a... Actually, it's a compliment in this term, but I went looking for a picture of you as a person I'd like to have lunch with as part of the strawberry-flavored blog post for Strawberry Sing. And... when I looked on Google, the first thing I came across was the Facebook picture that you had for your top, which is you probably about 10 years ago, grumpy avatars or something. It was a while ago. But it was you in your purple pimp getup with your giant top hat, and on either side of you, sitting on a throne, in throne-like fashion, with you was two women on either side that were, kind of scantily clad. And I went, that is the one sophisticated pimp right there.
That was Deuce of Dragon Ash and Slim Warrior, I hasten to add, for those of you.
Then you got style and taste too, because you're a sophisticated pimp, my boss.
I know how you feel. I mean, Bryn O just kind of portrayed me as a pervert while explaining my idea in her blog, so I don't know whether they got... I don't know whether they got my vision or now just everybody thinks I'm a pervert.
That's so funny. I read that. I've forgotten that.
I think she was poking. She was poking gentle fun at you.
I think if she thinks you're a pervert, that's a good thing.
She wishes you were a pervert, Lab. Let's look at it that way.
Well, before we go, I will say that, Will, you are forgiven because at least you said that I was one of the top 5 people you wanted to have lunch with.
Absolutely.
I didn't take it too badly when I saw that.
Well, pimp is a good term in this case. It was a compliment.
Stay tuned next week for the pimp and the pervert.
Yes. Okay, that's a good idea. We'll have a special AVT.
I'm not wearing any chains, no silks. I won't even be here.
Pimp, the pervert, and a pragmatist walk into a show.
We'll do a special show for AVTV called The Pimp and the Pervert. Wouldn't that be fun?
It'd be
I bet it'd get watched.
Drama.
I'm going to fade out here.
Okay, yeah. You're fading out and I'm fading out too, so I'm watching the screen. Okay, folks, well, it's been great seeing you all, even though I can't because you're on the other side of the screen. But it's been great seeing my guests, at least. And so be it. Thanks again to all of them, and until next week, this is Mal Burns and my partner here, Tara, saying good morning, good afternoon, good night, or even good tomorrow, depending on wherever and whenever you are. And I haven't said that one for a while either. Bye-bye.
Tugs at my ear like Carol Burnett.
Still live, folks. Still live.
Tugs at my ear like Carol Burnett.
Still live, folks. Still live.